G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my NRL round number 19 tips. We are flying through this season. We're getting closer and closer to finding out who's going to be there in the top 8. There is only a couple games to get through, 5 games with a lot of teams on the Origin bye. I will make a separate video for Origin. I've been killing it with tips and obviously got both Sunday tips, which is something I haven't been doing this year. So let's get into my round number 19 tips. Kicks off when the Tigers play the Sharks on Thursday night, 7:50. Massive price for the Tigers here. You're getting $9.30 with David Nofaluma, Brent Naden and Alex Twal out. So Kapoa makes up the wing, Junior Tupou on the wing, Laurie and Wakeham in the halves for this one, and replacing Alex Twal is Atasi James. As for the Cronulla Sharks, Braden Hamlin-Uele is out, Dale Finucane is out. That's a massive price for the Tigers, considering those Sharks players are out. But the Cronulla Sharks flogged the Dragons in the second half last week. Early on, bit of a contest, but they just blew them absolutely out of the park. They're not at home here. Tigers are considered at home, but look, the Sharks are just, flat track bullies. So I just see Cronulla winning this game. I think they will probably win it well. I'll go the Sharks by 24. I'll go the Sharks to win 34 points to 10. I don't know where the attack is going to come from the Tigers. Probably Jareem Buller at the back if there's anyone. But yeah, Stefanu might be in for a big game because obviously he has been overlooked in Origin game number 3. But first try scorer. Look, I haven't backed him for a while. He hasn't scored too many this year. I'm going to go Siosifa Talakai. Left centres, bit of damage there for the Tigers early on. Big Talakai to score first, and the Cronulla Sharks to start off the round with a 24-point win over the Tigers. So obviously I didn't mention as well that the Tigers conceded 74 last week. They were absolutely dreadful, and they are paying $9.30, but you often see a closer contest where teams bounce back. And yeah, there is some outs, but Cronulla for mine, they're going to be too good. The Tigers are in some trouble once again. I feel like I'm saying that every year. Next up is the St. George Illawarra Dragons hosting the Canberra Raiders. The Canberra Raiders were able to get the win over the Titans very controversially. I was actually at Indiana Jones. I was at the movie, but heard a lot of messages. I saw the no try from David Fifita. Really, really weird call. A lot of people calling it a robbery, but the Titans defeated 26-22 there in Canberra. And the Dragons, who I mentioned, they're off the bottom of the ladder due to that result of the Tigers, but they conceded 50 points, so they can't win the comp now. The poor old Dragon. $3.90 for the Dragons, $1.26 for the Raiders, sitting in 5th. Raiders probably take a lot of confidence out of last week's win. Corey Horsburgh is out for the Raiders. Xavier Savage still overlooked. He has been named on the reserves. Peter Holler, Kotrick, Mooney and Starling make up the bench for the Raiders. Mbai, Molu, Couchman and Dan Russell making it up for the Dragons, with Paul Turner, who previously played for the Titans and the Warriors, coming in at fullback for the St. George Illawarra Dragons. So look, the Dragons, they're also without Ben Hunt, Talatau Amone and Sullivan. So there's a lot of issues for the Dragons, but they do have a good record at Wynn Stadium. It's tit for tat as well against the Raiders. They seem to win a game, then lose a game. They're coming off a loss to the Raiders earlier in the year in a tight one. Can they beat them? They probably can, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to go the Raiders by 12. I think the Raiders will win 24 points to 12. I think it'll be low scoring. I think the Dragons have to defend much better than they did last week, and I think they can. They've got those big forwards that can stand up in these moments, but I just don't think they're going to be able to get the job done for the home fans, which is unfortunate. I'm going to go with my first try scorer, another player who has been overlooked for Origin Game 3. I'm going to go with Hudson Young to score first, and the Raiders to beat the Dragons by 12 points on Friday night. Next up sees my team, the Parramatta Eels, at home, 6th place, taking on the 8th place Warriors. The Warriors have, slipped down the ladder a little bit, but they still are a good side, and you can't doubt them now. Shaun Johnson has been named for the Warriors. He is in extreme doubt for this game, so it is a watch this space. $2.30 for the Eel, massive underdogs. Look, I will speak about it in a separate video, but obviously Clint Gutherson, Mitchell Moses and Campbell Gillard have been selected for Origin. Junior Paulo has been overlooked, so Junior Paulo will captain this side against the Warriors this week. A few changes to get through. Sean Russell moves from the wing to fullback. I like this decision a lot. Isaac Lumi comes in on the wing. I personally would have actually had Wonga Blake. I think Wonga Blake would have been a nice addition this week after so long out. I think he would have had a point to prove, and he's getting to the end of that Eels contract. So a lot of talk about Union. I actually would have liked to have seen Wonga in this side. In the halves is Ryan Madison, who tore it up against the Sea Eagle, and Dejan Arce in jersey number 7. On the bench is Moretti off of Hengawi. Sean Lane returns. He's been saying every week to me, I'm back next week for 4 weeks, but here he is back in the side. Wonga Blake, I mentioned, named on the reserve. And then as for the Warriors, their bench is Walker, Sirinen, Ali and Lussick. The Warriors absolutely outclassed at home in the rain against the Rabbitohs. Rabbitohs put a massive score on them. They're going to want revenge. They're not in a great position in the ladder, considering they're a team that look like and definitely want to play finals this year. They go into this game as favourites. I could be mistaken. I think they've played 3 times at CommBank Stadium, and the Warriors have never won at CommBank Stadium. But as for this game, I actually really like Parramatta. I like what we've been doing. I like the defence that we're providing. I just wonder how big of a loss Mitchell Moses is going to be, because Mitchell Moses' defence has been outstanding. But, I think of players like Bailey Simonson. I think of players like Jermaine Hopgood. Even Makatoa, someone like, I think there's a lot to like about the Eels defensively this week. So I'm going to go Parramatta. I'm going to go Parramatta in an upset. I'm going to go the Eels to win 18-16. Bit of a shootout this one, but I back our defence to get it done in the end. I'm going to go first try scorer. I did mention his name, Bailey Simonson. Parramatta by 2. It's going to be interesting to see Ryan Madison in that number 6 again, and against this big pack, just how much he can run. The next game, which is a really, really interesting game, the Rabbitohs and the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs sitting in 15th. And look, I know that the Tigers scored the least, like they conceded so many points last week. But I actually think the Bulldogs played worse. I think the Bulldogs, they played horrible. It was a home game for them, 66-0. They made some of the Knights look like stars. And may I say it, played them into Origin jerseys. That's all I'm going to say on that. The Rabbitohs and the Bulldogs. The Rabbitohs have a great record against the Bulldogs, but they also have a lot of players out for this game. Cameron Murray, Cody Walker, Damien Cook, Keon Kolomatangi. Fuck. If you're ever going to pick the Bulldogs, this could be the week to do it. Dean Hawkins is at 5'8" for this one. Tane Milne moves to the centres. Thomas Burgeon will captain the side. Ben Lovett back in the second row. Shakai Mitchell at lock. And then as for the Bulldogs, they have gone with some changes. Now, Toby Sexton has signed with the Bulldogs, so he is their new halfback. Blake Wilson comes in on the wing. Jackson Topine on centre. I actually don't mind this. It could be a Talakai kind of situation. A big body, hard to stop. We'll see. Jake Averillo comes in at fullback. The fans get what they want. They've been calling for Hayes Perham to be dropped for weeks now, and here it is. So I think this is a pretty solid team for the Bulldogs. I'm looking at this team and I'm thinking they can pick up a W. Something just tells me that the Rabbitohs are going to get this done by 1. By 1. I'm going to go the Rabbitohs to win. I think it's going to be a cracking game, and I think the Bulldogs fans are going to get the response that they want. Just unfortunately, going to lose out in this game. I'm going to go the Rabbitohs to win. Rabbitohs 21, Bulldogs 20. My first try scorer, I'll go with the Rabbitohs in the back row. I will go with Ben Lovett. Bulldogs fans, I really hope your team gets the dub. I hope they bounce back from that terrible performance last week. And let's see if it's a cracking game of footy on Saturday. The Rabbitohs to win by a field goal from Lachlan Ilias. And the final game of the round on Sunday at 4 o'clock at Cbus Super Stadium sees the 10th place Titans taking on the 12th place Dolphins. Now, as for the Titans, AJ Brimson out, David Fafita out, Fodawaker out, and Tino out. So in come Jaden Campbell. Also in is Kless Haas coming back into the side. And I'm just trying to work out who's replaced Mo Fodawaker. Looks like Isaac Fasum Ali comes in. So the bench is Randall, Clark, Jojo Fafita, and Jacob Alec. The Dolphins have Kerr, Nichols, Milford, and Wallace. Good to see Wallace back in that side. The Dolphins, they were, massive comeback against the Titans at Suncorp earlier in the season. Can they replicate that result with a few of these out for the Titans? Titans are at home here. Still got a fairly good side. But I'm looking at this Dolphins team and I'm looking at the way that they turned up after some of their performances lately against the Broncos. They weren't able to get the result they wanted, but I think they're building towards something. So, you know what? I'm actually going to go the Dolphins here. I'm going to go the Dolphins in an upset. They're about $2.05. I like that price a lot. I don't mind them to win well. They're $5.25 to win 13 plus. Last week I went with Newcastle 13 plus at $3.70 as my best bet. I'm going to go the Dolphins here as a best bet for the week. I'm going to go the Dolphins to win 24 points to 14. I think that they can beat the Titans with some of the players that they have out in this important period where they are still one of those teams that can try and fight towards the top 8. I don't think they're going to get there, but they can fight, and this is a win I can see them picking up. I'm going to go Jermaine Asako, first try scorer. So those are my tips for round number 19. I'm going the Cronulla Sharks, the Raiders, the Eels, the Rabbitohs, and the Dolphins this week. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, check out the link in the description for merch. I will be at the Eels and Warriors game, so there will be a vlog for that one. And let me know your tips in the comments, and I'll see you guys later.